My name's Emma Methven and I'm doing the unit 2 of the videos for a 10-minute fire. So today I'm going to show you how to do a 10-minute fire. This is for my Forest School Level 3 practitioner. Here's a selection of some things that you'd use for your fire. We've got some cotton wool for your striker to start the ignition, and then we've got some other stuff to get it going with, like your straw and little bits of wood and pine cones and tree bark. That's all kindling, really good kindling to get your fire started, and then you gradually get bigger as the flames get bigger. But as this is only a 10-minute one, it'll only be a small one. We've also got water here. This is for emergencies, and obviously to put your fire out, because it's a temporary fire. We need to make sure that there's no sign of us after we've put the fire out. So some things that you have to take note of when you're lighting a temporary fire and it's going to be left with no trace is the soil. Make sure it's not peaty soil. Obviously have permission to be able to light a fire. Any overhanging branches or trees, you have to make sure that there isn't causing any hazard. You have to make sure all the area is cleared of anything that's going to ignite, like bracken and any other leaves and things. So it all has to be clear. So what we do to start a fire is we've got some straw, which is really light and dry. So we put that on first. We put our cotton wool. I'll put quite a bit of cotton wool on. The reason is it's been so wet the past couple of weeks on the farmland. It's just so wet, it just won't get going otherwise. I make like a little sandwich of cotton wool and straw, so the cotton wool's not directly on the floor. You see that's got like a little sandwich, and then we strike the cotton wool. So we'll just wait for that to get going, and then we've got our next in line. So we've got like little sticks and we've got bark here as well. So then we can build up around the outside of the little bit of I can't see because of the. So we put in little bits of bark. Little bits of bark around the outside just to get it going. We've got lots of pine trees in this area, so we do use a lot of pine, and pine bark's really good for getting the fire going. So then we're just building it up round the outside, trying to keep it in like a pyramid shape. You can also use pine cones as well, which are really good to start a fire, but obviously they have to be dry. And we'll just leave that to get more ignite, get hold of the bark. that's a sign. If you listen to your fire to make sure that it's going, it will sort of crackle and spit, make a noise, and that's telling you that it's igniting the things that you've put around it, around your cotton wool. You can also use lint out the tumble dryer, which is a good accelerant, because we do use that as well, because it's free and it's recyclable. You've got a tail sign now that your fire's going, because you've got a lot of smoke, but it's white smoke, which means that it's alight, and then you can see your flames. We'll leave that to get going a little bit. Before we add anything else on. If you keep adding on and adding on, it's just not gonna stay alight. You've got to be aware of which direction your wind's blowing, if you've got any wind as well with you when you've got children coming around you. Also, when you're doing your temporary fire or your permanent fire, you've got to make sure that people are sitting at least 1.5 meters away from the actual central fire, making sure they're in a seated position, doing the circle of safety. Just let that keep going. You can see the flames now. Just need that to catch a bit more, to burn a bit more. When it's wet like this, it will take significantly longer to really get going, because the ground underneath is so wet. When you light a fire, it'll actually draw the moisture out of the soil and cause the inside to get wet. It draws it out. So it will take a bit longer to get going. You just have to be patient and not keep moving it about. It will get going. As long as you've done your triangle, you've got your ignition, you've got your air and your air or oxygen, and you've got your fuel, your fire will go. You just have to be patient. You can see that it's starting to go really well now, but you've still got to start burning the bark. If you need to move your items that you've put on, you can do it, pushing them further on with the stick, making sure that you're not squashing the oxygen out, because obviously it needs that air to get going. It's going well now. If you want to give it also a little boost as well, a little air boost, but obviously a team leader would only do this, or a protocol leader would only do this, if you can inject some air inside really carefully. Just make sure you come away when you take your breath. That just injects some extra air and speeds up your fire, especially when it's damp. And that's just helped it a little bit with some more flames coming out. You've got to think about the calorific value as well of your tree bark and your trees. Pine's really good at starting fires, but if you're getting your ash and your birch, they have to be super dry. Right, so you can see the flames there. I'm just going to give it another. You can really see the flames coming out. Definitely ignited. And then, right, what you need to do now is you need to think about how we're going to leave this area, how we found it. So the best thing to do, start off with, is we need to spread out carefully the embers of the fire that's been lit, because these areas you can see there's no flame, but inside it's really hot. So the best thing to do is spread it out. What that does, it breaks the triangle. You've got lots of oxygen, but the fuel has been taken away and the heat's been taken away from the fire. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to spread it about. You just spread, take that away. Spread this about. And just let that burn down a bit. You can see the pine cones have been good to keep the fire going, and the pine is just really good. What we can do now is, starting from the outside of the fire, you can use your water. So starting from the outside of the fire is bringing it in so it can't spread any further. And then we start dousing it in the middle. Keep dousing it. And then you can use your stick again. Spread it out. Making sure there's no heat. A bit more water on. And then what you can do now, a bit more, making sure everything is wet and soaked down. Now all of this, because it's come from the wood, you can do one or two things. You can collect all the big bits which have come from the wood and put them on the pile that you cleared earlier, but all this straw needs to be cleared up because this isn't from the wood. So that can be put into a bucket and taken back. As you can see, it's completely cold. So we'll take that back. Just double checking. And then all this that we scraped off needs to be put back. Put back how we found it. And that's how you do a 10-minute temporary fire.